Wow, what's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to the Value Podcast, where valuable people attract people of value. I am Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. I focus on repairing, evaluating, and giving you the tools you need to maintain healthy relationships. Today, I am honored. We're going to another level today on the Value Podcast. I'm sitting here with Teresa Smith, a transformation specialist. I'm not going into a long bio. They'll have to catch that right there. Transformation specialist. What else do you do to summon? Because actually, you know what? We're gonna go right. We're gonna do this. Because we met when I was in purpose, on purpose. And I asked you what you do, and you used this word. You used 3 words. You said, I show up. So I know what you meant by that because you explained it to me. But for those that are listening or watching, what does that mean? I show up.
So, so that means that I allow what is happening to happen in the moment by just being present, just literally showing up with no expectations, no anticipations, other than something awesome and amazing is going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be quantified. I don't need it to be qualified. I don't need to be anything other than the belief that something awesome and amazing will happen if I just show up. So I just show up. I don't need a title. I don't need a reference. I don't need anything but to be present and to watch what happens happen.
But we live in a society now where, people deem that I need this title across my chest. If it's not just like physically being seen, maybe in their mind, especially, with social media and you got the television, and it's like if you don't have this certain status quo, then most people adopt the mentality like, you know what, maybe I'm not worth anything in a room full of people that have titles. So that's showing up and being who you are. I think first you need to know who you are.
I agree.
So, even if you can, I don't know if you can recall, when was that moment that you had that type of mentality or paradigm shift where it was like, you know what? I know exactly who I am and whose I am, and I'm going to show up like this on purpose.
I believe that I have always walked in that on some level. But along with all of those other things that you talked about, the social media and the titles, along with those things comes fear.
Okay.
Fear comes in because if I lose my title, you may think something else about me. If I lose my looks, you think something else about me. If I lose my high-paying job, you think something else about me. So there are so many shifts that go on constantly because we're constantly shifting to meet the need of someone else. But if I just show up and show up as my true 100% authentic self, then first and foremost, I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm good. Whatever you do, I'm good. The next thing it gives me is a peace to accept you and a compassion and a grace to accept you for who you are. Because my authentic self can recognize your authentic self, but it can also recognize your representative. And I'm okay with either one. But my authentic self can it sees who you are when you show up. So what I do when I show up as my authentic self, and it morphs into whoever I am in that moment. I'm constantly evolving. I am not in a belief that I have to show up as the same person all the time, because if I show up as my title, I have to show up as that person all the time. If I show up as me, I get to be who I am right then. And that is constantly morphing, depending on where I am in my spiritual walk in that moment. So it gives me that freedom to just be me. But the best thing it gives is for permission for you to do the same thing, show up.
Yeah.
If I show up completely naked and available, transparent, and it's just the two of us especially, you can do one of two things. You can hide behind whatever it is you're hiding behind, whether it's your title, whether it's your bank account, whether it's your car, whether it's your looks, whatever you're hiding behind, or you can strip down and become just as naked and transparent. And then we can connect on a level that is more meaningful and impactful.
You know, I said this to sometime if I'm coaching people, I say there's these two words, transparent and translucent.
Mm-hmm.
And I say there are some people you can be transparent with and some people you can be translucent.
I agree.
And I gave the depiction of like if the bride is coming down the aisle, you know, she has the veil over her face, it's translucent. You can't really see the blemishes that may be on her makeup or on her lipstick or on her eyelashes, you know. But then when she approaches the groom, she lifts the veil.
Yes.
And there's a transparency that takes place that this groom is able to see the bride's, you know, those small, fine blemishes or the details the makeup artist may have missed or the hairstylist may have missed on the side of her hair or the bow or whatever the case may be. And I believe we need to be very cognitive or use discernment on who we're being transparent with and who we're being translucent with, because some people cannot handle your transparency.
I don't disagree.
Okay.
But I may see it differently.
I want to hear how you say it.
I don't think that I should, because in order for transparent to become translucent, you have to mix something in it. You have to put something in it. I'm not willing to water myself down because you're not prepared for my transparency. I can't do that. That's being dishonorable
let me say
to
it like this
myself.
then. Maybe the ones, because there's individuals that I bring close to me because they could handle my transparency. And then there's certain individuals that I have to, you're near me, but you see I'm translucent because my transparency sometimes would have you, I understand you may look at me a different type of way, but there's some transparent moments in my life where I can't bring you that close.
Why not?
Because I almost leave that space for my very close, intimate friends or family.
The very person you're excluding could be the very person that needs to hear that part that you're keeping from them. Because you don't think they're ready. I don't mean this in a bad way.
No, go ahead.
But who made you in charge of making that decision?
This is why I brought you on here. I brought you on here so one we could exchange wisdom, but then also at the same time I get to gain wisdom and insight and learn and have a new knowing, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm always in a position of being a student.
Yeah, because you don't know what you don't know till you know it.
Yeah.
I get that. But I mean, who really put you in charge of deciding if they're worthy of getting your wisdom and your knowledge?
So I got two words for you, right? These two words came to me, immerse and emerge.
Okay.
So I can tell that you're very seasoned. So when I use the word immerse, at what point of your life did you start to immerse yourself into becoming this woman? Because I know, you know, for some women or some men, particularly women, they may be watching this and go, oh, wow, she's so deep and she's so wise. And I like to just take them back a little bit before maybe the moment that we're sitting in now, where it was like, there was this Teresa that was like, may have been lost and was like, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
I need to find and you begin to immerse yourself into this woman to become.
Do we have that much time?
I mean, you can summarize it.
So I will summarize it. So I grew up in a very abusive environment on multiple levels.
Okay.
Multiple levels of abuse. So after experiencing that for a lot of my years, I became an expert at abusing myself. So in those years, it was very fun abuse, though. I tell people I had a great time abusing myself, you know, because it didn't feel like abuse then. It felt like fun. But at one point, I got tired. Just tired. I wasn't sure what I was tired of, but I was tired. And for years, I was tired. But at the age of 28, I became sick and tired. And there's a saying that change happens when you become sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And at 28, I had a suicide plan.
Okay.
And I worked in mental health and substance abuse because I grew up in an interesting family. So I wanted to understand them a little better. So I figured I'd get closer to the source and learn about them a little bit more. But I was going to commit suicide. And I had gotten a glass of wine, a joint, and a bottle of pills. And I was going to smoke the joint, which I was going to smoke the joint anyway. I was going to smoke the joint and take the pills and drink the wine and just go to sleep. And it probably doesn't reflect on here, but I am very dramatic. I'm very calm, but I'm very dramatic. I see things dramatically. I do things very dramatic. And in that moment of knowing that I was about to take my own life, I had enough presence of God to say, I don't want to die like this. I don't want to die like this. And I tell people in that moment, my water became as black as tar. It looked like tar. And I remember just being completely grossed out by the water, not even remembering what I had just spoken. Just the water was disgusting, and I remember getting out. But I knew when I got out, I wasn't the same person that got in the tub.
Oh, you were sitting in the tub
I
at
was
the time.
in the tub preparing to commit suicide.
Okay.
Preparing to complete suicide. I knew how to do it. And God saved me from myself in that moment. Because it wasn't the presence of God that got me out of the tub. It was the disgusting water. But God knows me enough to know his child to say, she may not hear me right now because she's still so in her head. My still small voice may go past what she needs to hear. So let me give her a visual. And I mean, that water was like muck. And I can, even now talking, I can still see it when I close my eyes when I talk about it. But when I got out, I knew that I was not the same person that got in. But that was just the beginning. What happened was an evolution was happening, but I wasn't conscious of it. Things were lining up, and I was seeing them, and I was just like, God, that's so weird. Oh my gosh, how'd that happen? You know, and I just started consciously following the breadcrumbs, not just allowing them to happen and being in awe when they happen, acknowledging them, and then coming to anticipate them. Because once they start, they keep going and they keep going. So you just have to get away from the fear that says, don't do this. That's scary. What if you do this and this happens? What are they going to think about you if you do this? You have to move away from that enough to say, I'm going to trust this because it's been guiding me in the right way, all these different ways. I'm going to keep going with that. And everywhere you go, there's going to be a new fear.
Yeah.
You can't overcome one and think, oh gosh, I'm over it, I'm done. Fear, I'm past that. Because when you get to the next level, the next fear is waiting for you. So we're constantly evolving in the dance between love and fear. Fear is the absence of love because they cannot coexist. There's only love and fear, period. There's nothing else in existence but love and fear. We are products of what we believe. Do we believe love more than we believe fear, or do we believe fear? And you see it, it's evident in your living, which you believe more. If you're fear-based, it's because you have gotten away from love. The closer you get to love, the absence of fear is, you just don't even have it anymore.
So this suicide, right? The suicide attempt or the suicide plan that you had it already mapped out, and you were immersed, I should say, in fear, and then you emerge from that. Now, as the cycle continued, because I believe it's this emerging.
Constant.
So what did you begin to immerse yourself in after that so you can emerge into the woman that we're sitting here listening to and watching?
Probably more than anything was immersing myself in the voices in my head. Delving into, because we all have them. You know, we have sometimes, you know, usually we have at least two. And one is the voice of love, and one is the voice of fear. People call it God and Satan and what you call it, whatever you want to call it. God is love. So that is his voice. When it is speaking to you and it is clearly giving you that resonance that I am supposed to do this. This feels good. Mm-hmm. But fear is that thing that makes you not step out, not walk out. So just, again, finding that balance. First, listening to those voices and deciding which one I choose to listen to. Constantly. Because as a man thinketh, your thoughts become your reality. It starts here first. And God has given us the beauty and the gift of choice. So I can continue to choose to listen to this voice that has me constantly in fear, constantly anxious, constantly, sacrificing, doing all these different things, constantly spinning my wheels. Or I could choose to listen to this voice of love, because the voice of love will say, you don't have to work that hard to do that. You're my child. I'm going to give you that. Just be cool. Be still. Stop trying to make things happen. I got this. So the voice of love is that voice that tells me that. It's the other voice of fear that has me ripping and running from place to place, trying to make this happen and begging so you stop doing that. You start with the voice in your head.
And that's what you immerse yourself in.
That is what
basically this loving voice. And you know what's amazing, even as you say that, because when you immerse I was saying this, you can immerse yourself in something positive or negative, love or fear, as you should say.
Absolutely.
The thing is, whatever you immerse yourself in, you're going to have to emerge from.
Yes.
And that's going to determine how you come out. So if I immerse myself in constant fear and constant hate and constant negativity, then I have to emerge from it. And my being, it's almost like if I immerse myself in mud, when I come out, mud is going to be all over me.
But you first have to want to come out.
Exactly. But it's interesting.
A lot of people don't want to come out from where they are because they're very, very comfortable.
You know what? Immersing, because that comfortability comes from attention. I get attention when I'm in this comfortable place, even though it's destroying me or detrimental to my health and growth.
Or sometimes you're just comfortable there. Sometimes it just feels good.
It feels good.
Even though it's painful. Because again, when you think about emerging requires effort. It requires intention. It requires action. And if I'm ill-equipped to put any of those in place, I might as well just stay where I am. I'll just be comfortable in the pain that I'm in because I just don't want to do all that. Then what if I get over there? Because again, fear is really what keeps you from having all of those things you don't have to get where you want to be. It really isn't the inactivity, or it's the fear of what happens when I get there. I know what's happening right here. I know this I know this crazy. I know this pain. I know everything about it. So I should just stay here. Because if I get over there, it's just like going to a party. You don't know anybody. And you're walking around, you're just waiting on somebody to talk to you, and you don't talk to anybody, they don't talk to you. So you just don't go to the party because you don't want to have that experience. It's the same thing. I don't aspire to change because, first of all, I don't know if I can. What if I change and I come back to being this person? So much fear talk. All of those things come from fear. They don't come from the ego is the fear mind. That is the other voice. Love is one voice. And if you look at it, that ego, because somebody told me once, I tell people all the time, somebody told me that ego stands for edging God out.
Edging God out.
EGO, edging God out. So if you're listening to a voice that is clearly edging God out, that's your ego. That's not love. That's not God. So it's easy to discern the two voices when you look at it from that perspective. Is this voice sounding like something God would tell me to do? Or is this voice making me scared to leave my house?
I think that's why the value of relationships is so important, and in terms of what relationships are we keeping around us, because that will determine how we emerge, or if we even do emerge. Because if you have valuable people around you, and I know it's not easy, like you just explained, you may be immersed in something it's difficult for you to get out. You don't have enough strength. You're weak. The pain feels comfortable, but valuable people around you will know how to love you out.
Absolutely.
And say, you know what, I see
Yes.
what you immersed yourself in.
Yes.
Because I was there. I was
Yes.
immersed in a lot of negativity.
Yes.
Periodically, that's why I keep valuable and tutors and mentors around me that could check me and say, hey man, you know what, they might not use the word immerse, but they may say, they may love me or encourage me and say certain things that I emerge out of whatever I immerse myself in. You know, and there's times where I was deeply immersed during my times of growing up, and you know, in the community I was in, whether it was alcohol, drugs, you know, violence, and just craziness, and just having a loving mother, loving family members, loving friends, and then also, you know, a loving God that says, no, Jamel, you're coming out of this. It took some time, but he was like, you're coming out of this. And I think that's why we should have valuable people around us, because some people aren't, like you said, they're not strong enough to emerge from that darkness and step into that light where they see themselves different and say, you know what, no, I'm not that. I'm not this. I'm not who they said I was. Behold, I am a new creature. Wow. So I know, you know, go ahead, you want to say something? I see
Well, I
it
was going
coming.
to say, as the valuable people too, we have to be mindful to detach from the outcome of what we do.
Ooh, I'm going to say something with that.
Because we can sometimes get a little God complex that, you know, when you're immersed and I'm over here helping you because I see you. Because if you're immersed, sometimes you don't see it because everything around you is at your level. That's what sea level says. Everything around me is at the same level. So if everything around me is at the same level, I may not see that I'm immersed. But a person may see it, but they may not be able to reach me at the level of immersion that I am. But what they can do is they can be present and they can plant seeds.
Yeah.
They don't have to always be the person to, you know, come by and make sure that there's no weeds in it. And you don't even necessarily have to be around for the harvest.
No, oh my God, listen. There's a verse when Paul's talking to, it's in, I think it's in Corinthians, and he's saying one plants, one waters. He said the most important thing is God makes it grow, or God gives the increase.
Yes.
One plants, one waters. And that helped me during my walk as an evangelist or even a motivational speaker or an encourager or an enlightening person that plant, water, I'm out the way.
Yes.
God gives the increase. He makes it grow.
Absolutely.
A farmer doesn't plant a seed.
He may put you in the position just for the harvest.
Just for the harvest.
You didn't have to do anything but show up. And the harvest was plentiful right there waiting for you. But we have delegated ourselves, you know, again, that freedom of choice. That, you know, God says, go over there and plant that seed. Go over there and tell that person something. And walk away.
And that's it.
But you know what we do? Oh, I got to tell them this, and then I got to tell them this. Then I got to do this. Then I got to go back and do this. And then I got to do this. And then when it doesn't turn out the way we thought it should turn out, we find ourselves feeling some type of way.
Oh my God. I didn't even think. Now I see why this particular phrase that I'm about to use connects to this conversation. And I got this maybe a couple days ago. I stumbled upon this. But if we try to play all three parts, what happens with a lot of leaders, and even let me just say a lot of leaders is it turns into manipulation, because now you're trying to force growth. It's like I always use this depiction, like a farmer puts a seed in the ground. You know, he puts the seed in the ground, he toils the ground, puts the seed in there. The farmer doesn't stand over the seed, and the minute a little branch or a little plant comes out the ground, starts to pull it out and say, come on, apple tree. Because he could damage the tree, because it's manipulation. He's trying to force growth. And it can easily happen where it's like, okay, I planted, I watered, and then I see this person next week or next month or next year, man, they're still the same. You still drinking that, or you still doing this, that, and the third, or you still in that relationship, I'm gonna get you out of here. And so now we become manipulative and try to make it happen and force the growth out of this person. And here's this phrase that I discovered, that I came upon. As leaders, we can experience this, and I didn't realize I was experiencing this until last week. Compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is literally what we're talking about right now, where leaders or individuals, we are constantly rescuing people or dealing with people in traumatic situations or that are suffering from emotional exhaustion, and we're constantly in that environment. That's because that's part of our calling, you know, whether you're a motivational speaker or a life coach, and you're constantly in that environment. But if we're not properly balanced, we experience compassion fatigue. Now the very thing that we're trying to save is irritating us. The very person we're trying to help is getting on our nerves. And now our compassion is becoming depleted, and we find ourselves, one of the things we start doing is we start isolating ourselves away from people because we're like, man, I'm tired, I'm freaking exhausted. Every time they come around, they want me to help them. You're experiencing compassion fatigue, or they call it secondary trauma.
Do you know what it comes from, though? Have you given any thought to how you get to that place?
I believe overextending yourself. That's one of the ways, but I'm sure you have another way.
Well, no, I think that's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah.
Again, going with trying to play our part.
Trying to play the planner, the waterer, and the one that's giving the increase.
And every single part.
Every single part, and then you develop this compassion fatigue, and we all experience it, whether you're a leader or just a person in a family.
So is it really compassion fatigue, or is it just that your efforts? Because sometimes our best efforts are what get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
We mean well when we are trying to help you come out of that addiction that we talked about last year, and we were talking about it. But again, there are some seeds that take 7 years to grow. You can plant it in the ground, and it takes 7 years for it to actually sprout.
Yeah.
So again, even if you are the farmer that's sitting there looking over your seed, waiting on the sprout, are you going to waste 7 years or 6 years or 6 months or 7 minutes waiting on somebody to change?
Mm.
Or are you going to do what God called you to do in that season?
Yeah.
Because season to season, your role may change. Person to person, your role may change. So again, just having that willingness to say, okay, I will show up and be who you need me to be.
That show up, back to that show up.
Back to the show up. It
Back to
always
showing up.
goes back to just showing up. The willingness to show up means that I can be whatever you need me to be right now. So if I don't have a title that says that I am sower, then that means if you need me to be the waterer, then I'm over here just watering away. And that's all I'm doing till you tell me to do differently.
Yeah. I said.
But if I get tired of watering, because that's just not what I want to do.
Mm.
I like planting seeds. I don't want to water. I think about when my kids played baseball. All kids want to bat. Nobody ever wants to play in the field. Nobody ever wants to play in the field. Everybody just wants to bat.
Yeah.
That's how we are still. I don't want to do the hard part of tilling the land, going out talking about stuff that people don't want to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that part. I don't want to be the seed sower who has to talk about things that are uncomfortable for people to hear because they're not ready.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the waterer because I don't want to just stand in one position and pour out all that you keep giving to me. It's all mine.
And you know what's interesting? That's the conversation that was taking place in Corinthians. They were disputing back and forth. Who's the greatest? Who's the least? Who's going to be in charge? Who's number 1? Who's number 10? And Paul was like, look. It doesn't matter. One plants, one waters, one encourages, one enlightens, one pats on the back, one serves. The most important thing is that God's going to give the increase. God's going to make he's going to give that person the ability to develop. This is amazing. If somebody's immersed in something, when I was immersed in what I was immersed in, people were coming along periodically throughout my life, planting and watering. But eventually, when it was all said and done, it was God that delivered me and had me emerged out of the muck. And I believe it happens that way because, especially in our time frame in our society, He wants the glory. Because if we pump ourselves up so much, now I'm not saying you shouldn't have a sense of pride in yourself, but then it's like, I did this. And so like you said, what happens now is we got this ego. I etched God out. And I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're setting yourself up for a hard fall.
Mm-hmm. But there's so much fun in the changes that come along.
Yes.
See, we have, because we are in this microwave, gimme, quick, fast society, we want the instant gratification. I want it right now. I want the change right now. I want the manifestation right now. I want the beautiful right now. I want everything I want right now. But we forget about the experience that gets us from there to there. There's so much that happens between there and there, but we miss it because all I see is this. Mm-hmm. I don't even see all the beautiful things that happened along the way.
Yeah.
So that's what showing up allows you to do, is see all those beautiful, because my faith says I'm going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
My time is not his time.
Mm-hmm.
Time is very linear to me now, and sometimes people think that's a little too crazy. But time is very linear. When I have to be somewhere at a certain time, somebody has given me a concrete time to be there. But sometimes it's almost like a wrinkle in time, where it's like, where'd the last 2 hours go?
Yeah.
Because I allowed myself to just be. We are, by what they call us, human beings.
Mm-hmm.
But we have, by choice, allowed ourselves to become human doings. So we do a lot. And we do. And we're constantly trying to outdo what we just did, on top of outdoing the person next to us and the person next to them. And the person we already passed. When do we have time to be?
Just be.
And just experience? There's so much beauty in just experiencing what's happening right now.
I believe here's what I'm hearing when you say that. Like, if I can get my mind to that point, then showing up becomes effortless. Because I'm not trying.
The thing you do.
Because I'm not trying to be so many other things, or be so many other people, or be what my environment, or be what my friends are like. I'm being me, and it's because somebody may watch this and listen to this, and for some, this is why the value that you keep around you is so important, because for some people that's hard, because we've become so accustomed to appeasement.
It's hard because it's scary. It goes back to fear.
Fear.
Let me tell you, I'm going to provide you with an affirmation that I am giving myself.
Okay.
I am becoming more social media savvy. That is not my zone of genius. I love one-on-one or human contact. You can be whoever you want to be on that thing. You can create and be whoever you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So my presence on there is not as out there as a lot of people would like it to be, because I choose to be authentic. And I feel like at some point I will can myself to suit somebody else. But that little social media, that presence thing, but learning to expose ourselves again and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And be open. And find ourselves. This is even very different for me, because where I will speak, and I will speak in groups of thousands of people.
Yeah.
My recorded presence is not very public. I don't put it out there a lot. So this is that thing again, but it goes back to emerging from a place where I was, where the voice in my head says, you're not good enough. Who wants to hear what you have to say? Be seen and not heard, because those are things that I grew up hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And the story that I told myself for a long time was, who wants to hear what I have to say? Why am I valuable? What makes me valuable? Because your whole brand is value.
Yeah.
But first you got to know what makes you valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And we set our values on the metrics set by whoever else we choose to give that power to. Whether it was our parents when we were growing up, whether it's the job, whether it's your credit score, whether it's your body type, whatever. But that is something that we own. We can fully own that. So once I establish my value, then I can be valuable to someone else.
Come on.
But if I don't know my own value, because they told me I was stupid and I was dumb and you ain't gonna never grow up and be nothing anyway. And I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed it for a very long time. Some people believe it their entire lives. So they stay immersed their entire lives. They don't know that there's another side. And that becomes that thing that the Bible says, that thing that I don't want to do, I do it. And the thing that I do want to do, I can't do it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because somewhere deep down inside of me, I believe the stories that maybe somebody told me a long time ago. So I don't know how to emerge. But again, once I find it and those little breadcrumbs, because once the light comes on, it'll stay on. As long it's like a match. It's like a match will stay lit as long as it has something to connect to keep it lit. That's how our lives are. That's how our positivity, that's how God is in our lives. As long as we stay connected to something that will keep us lit, we will constantly be evolving in the way that we want to go. Just follow the breadcrumbs. They drop out. It can be a billboard. Mm-hmm. It can be a ad on your Facebook. You're looking at Facebook and an ad pops up and it's that very thing you were just thinking about.
Yeah.
God is constantly sending us things. He's everywhere in everything, but you can't see him until you align with him on that level of the thing that you're trying to see.
You could be listening to this podcast, watching it. Here's what I want. What keeps you in, what gives you this enthusiasm? What keeps you enthusiastic? I was using that word the other day with a friend of mine. I said, the word for the month of June is enthusiasm. It has in there the word tenacity and the eagerness. If you're not eager or have the tenacity or the drive, then if there is a competitive situation or anything, you're going to be outdone. So what keeps you enthusiastic? What's one of the things that keeps you excited about life?
There is only one thing, literally.
There is
literally one thing. It is, and it sounds so simple, and people ask me all the time, is it really that simple? Yes, it's really that simple. It is really just love. I love. I love everything about love. I love the way it makes me feel. I love the way it makes me look. I love the way it makes me treat other people. I love the way it makes other people treat me. I love it. So when something presents itself, all I ask myself, and if it's that thing that is working my flesh, because we are spiritual beings living this experience, so part of the experience is that it could happen. Mm-hmm. But the question I ask myself in every scenario is, what is love trying to teach me right now?
Yeah.
Because love is a teacher. And we are constantly a student of love. So if that thing presents itself and it is making me feel outside of any way that I truly want to feel, I have to sit back and say, okay, now what is love trying to teach me? Let me just sit still long enough, because love will show itself.
Yeah.
Love will always show itself. It is always in everything. But again, if you're not in alignment with it, you won't see it. So the way I get myself in alignment with it is to clearly ask it, what are you trying to show me through this person that is really making me want to do something else?
Wow.
What are you trying to show me? Because it's never about the other person. It's never about anything other than the experience and what I'm supposed to get from it. But we forget that. We want it to be about the other person. We want it to be about how bad it made me feel or, how terrible it made my life. No. What did you learn from that? What did you get from that experience? What did love teach you in that moment?
Because I love love too. I think love is so beautiful.
Yes.
And it's not always easy, but even when it comes to, your significant other or intimate, love is just, here's the thing, and I'm not allowing anything to steal my love or my peace. Whatever it is may come, and it may last for because I'm not saying I'm always just operating in love, but it may come and it may, but you're not going to have it too long. Sometimes as fast as you come, you're going to go, because I am determined that this peace and this love and the way that it has me feel, people see me, they think this is an act when I'm excited. No, I'm excited about life.
Yes.
I am grateful for where I came from. Look, I'm grateful for what I have emerged into from what I was immersed in.
Yes.
When I do a passion review constantly, when I wake up, that's one of the ways I train my mind. And I would tell couples is, do a passion review of where you were, of what you were immersed in, since we're using those words. And I guarantee you'll become excited. I'm excited about life. Right now in this moment, I'm very monotone and calm, but I am, inside of me, there's like volcano going off.
Yeah.
I'm excited because this is what love is. Love is the value of relationships.
Yes. Yes.
Love is the value of relationships. I got this for you right here. Looking into the camera, what would you tell, and I want to specifically talk to women because you are a woman, you know, and whether they're young or whether they're an older woman, what would you tell that person listening and viewing? What would be one piece of advice that you would give them in terms of if they are immersed in something and it's not benefiting them? How would you emerge from that? How can I emerge from this? I hear what you're saying, Teresa, you know, but I've been in this for 5 months, 5 years, 10 years. And then, you know, I just don't have no clue of how to emerge from this. Abusive relationship, suicidal thoughts, you know, because I know what you said about yourself, but it may be different for them. Just whatever that thing is. What would you tell that young lady or that older woman?
That's really deep because, again, the stories that we tell ourselves generally are written for us by someone else. And they were written for us a lot of years ago, before we even understood what a story was. So we spend a great deal of our lives believing those stories. And we abuse ourselves in ways that we don't even understand because we believe the stories. But I tell you, there is the power that God has given us with choice. And to take it even a step further, not just choice, conscious choice. To make a conscious decision to do something different, to get something different. Because credit is given to Einstein for saying that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. But we do it because, again, we've gotten comfortable in our pain. But I assure you, there is no growth in comfort, and there's no comfort in growth. You've got to be willing to step outside of that thing that feels safe, to find the place where you are vulnerable, to expose the places that need to be exposed so that you can release them. That only comes in surrender. And you can't surrender if you're unwilling to release. So first you've got to find comfort outside of your comfort zone. So be comfortable being uncomfortable, trying something different. What is different? The opposite of what you're doing now. Anything different than what you're doing now is different. Find the different. I saw a quote once that said, "What you think of me is none of my business." And I tell people, on some level, that saved my life. Because I no longer had to worry about what you think about me.
Yeah.
So that I could be free to make the conscious decisions I needed to make for me in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Not 5 minutes from now, not 10 minutes from now, right now. And the beautiful thing about right now is always right now. So any moment, you can change your scenario, you can change your thinking, you can change your reality. Because right now is always right now.
Wow. Man, listen. For those that are listening, for those that are watching, this is the value of, listen, man, this is the Value Podcast, man. I told you, we're valuable people, attract people of value. Once again, I'm Jamel Jackson, the relationship mechanic. I focus on repairing, evaluating, and giving you the tools. I want to emphasize on that word tools to live healthy relationships. And if you guys were watching or listening to this and taking notes or just paying attention, there were some tools that were given to you to help you live a healthy relationship and have healthy relationships. Teresa Smith, I am so full. Like one of my mentors used to say, we're not done. We just pausing. We will always continue. This, I believe, really is going to be one of the shifters of the Value Podcast. This is just shifted the Value Podcast to another level. And I'm very honored, and I thank you humbly. I appreciate your existence. I really value you with all my heart and all my mind, and I really love you, truly. I thank you very much.
You're making me blush. I am so humbled and I am so grateful for this opportunity. The day we met, what did I tell you? I was in a place that I hadn't been in, what did I tell you, at least 10 years. But I knew that I was coming to meet you.